There may be a bit of Freud to be had here. Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we're here for another poetry discussion, which will appear in two separate playlists here on the channel. Number one being the poetry discussion playlist, but number two being the Emily Dickinson playlist here on the channel, a playlist dedicated exclusively to the work of the greatest poet of all time, obviously, Emily Dickinson. The poem in question today is known as The Judge is Like the Owl, and it reads as such. The judge is like the owl, I've heard my father tell, and owls do build in oaks, so there's an amber sill that slanted in my path when going to the barn, and if it serve you for a house itself is not in vain. About the price, 'tis small. I only ask a tune at midnight. Let the owl select his favorite refrain. Now, this is a poem I've probably read 5 times, but never to break down. So, every time that I've read it, it hasn't particularly struck my fancy, and I've moved on past it and never thought too strongly about it. But there's some stuff to talk about here. Now, the first thing worth mentioning is Emily Dickinson and her strained relationship with her father. Seems to be a little bit like Emily Dickinson's strained relationship with religion. Seems to be a little bit like Emily Dickinson's strained relationship with authority in general. Of her father, she once said, "His heart is pure and terrible, and I think no other like it exists." She thought of her father as singular, thought of her father as pure and terrible. Probably, if you mix these things together, what you're looking at is a very strict and authoritarian type of father. That seems to be those connection of ideas. That blend of words would lead you to believe someone is probably authoritarian. Someone is probably very strict. So when we talk about this poem, the judge is like the owl. The judge in America, the pinnacle of authority. A judge can wave off your sentencing. A judge can sentence you. The father figure here has told our speaker that the judge is like the owl. Emily Dickinson's father was a lawyer, I believe. So would have had intimate relations, not that type of intimate, but intimate work relations with judges. Knowing what they think, knowing how they think, probably admiring the position, and has communicated to his daughter. And this could be completely fabricated, right? But I'm just saying, for the sake of discussing the poem, pretend it's true. Your lawyer father tells you that a judge is like an owl. So how does the rest of this poem go? The judge is like the owl I've heard my father tell. And owls do build in oaks, so here's an amber sill. Owls build in oaks. Oaks, a very sturdy tree. The practice of law, the practice of judgment, very sturdy, very solid. That slanted in my path when going to the barn. Our speaker is going to the place of work and runs into the owl. And if the oak, serves you for a house, it's my oak, but if it serves you, that oak is not there in vain. And your price for rent, dear owl, for being in that oak, it's small. All I ask is that at midnight, you sing, you refrain, you select your favorite refrain. Okay, seems simple enough. But that owl is reminding our speaker of their father. Okay, still, fair enough. What does the owl say? Everybody knows owls ask who? 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 If the owl is the judge, the owl is ascertaining guilt. The judge is finding who is guilty. If the owl is a judge, the owl is constantly asking who is at fault. Who? 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 Okay, fine. But that judge asking who is guilty has found itself in the path of our speaker. Our speaker seems fine with letting the owl exist there, but there will be a price to pay. The price will come at midnight. Well, I ask you this. What are you doing at midnight? Me, I'm at work. I work overnights. I am scum of the earth. But many people, they're sleeping. They're in bed. Our speaker, therefore, is asking for our owl in question, essentially to visit her, to visit him in bed. A bit of Freud to be had. I warned you. I warned you. So, there's one more detail about this that is interesting. Interesting if we are allowed to take this to those depths. Our speaker says that the owl and her father are linked in her mind. The owl reminds her of her father. Okay, great. The owl is being asked to visit the bedside at midnight. Not literally. And it doesn't look, this doesn't have to be of sexual nature. This could be very easily something that is giving our speaker anxiety, keeping our speaker awake, being visited upon by these terrible things, a pure and terrible heart. But if our speaker is requesting this presence, that means that on some level, they enjoy it. Now, very easy to go the Freudian route here. Very easy to go the Freudian route here. I think you see what I'm saying. And the Freudian route, by the way, is not about incest. It's about the synapses, the area of your brain that is responsible for love in your family is the same as the area in your brain that is responsible for romantic love. The same part of your brain lights up in both of these circumstances. So, when learning someone to love, sometimes it seems people choose someone that reminds them of one of their parents. That's really what's going on in the when someone is making a Freud reference, but I think sometimes pop culture has allowed that Freud reference to get to maybe too weird. But our speaker asking visitation from the owl, even if it is in absence, even if only by song, is asking the owl to lend judgment. The owl is like a judge. The judge is like the owl, asking who? In these moments, these lonely moments, when I'm trying to fall asleep, I want to borrow some of your judgment. I want to be visited upon by that terrible judgment. That is all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. There's poetry every Monday, and I hope to have you back for the next one.